Trail was Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and the Molson Grand National. In a real turnabout in performance, both Kenny Bernstein and Bob Glidden were defeated in the first round of racing. For Butch Leal, he continued his amazing string of final round appearances. This was his 6th this season. Racing against Leal in the final was Bruce Allen. The starting line advantage for Butch Leal was the margin of victory at the finish, as Leal won his 3rd race this season. In the Grand National Funny Car Final, Ed McCulloch was considered the underdog. The favorite, not only with the fans, but based upon his performance, was the man who was making his 10th final round appearance, John Force. Force had yet to win a national event title, but this was his day, as McCulloch lost traction and John Force won the Grand National. Top Fuel Eliminator saw the 2 dominant cars in competition, Dick LaHaye against Joe Amato. Joe had been in the final round of 5 NHRA national events, winning 1. For Dick LaHaye, he was aiming for his 3rd straight national event title. This was a rematch of the finals at the Cajun Nationals. In this case, Dick LaHaye was the number 1 qualifier. Joe Amato was number 2. Another tremendous race, and Dick LaHaye won his 3rd consecutive title, tying an NHRA record.
And that 3rd victory for LaHaye vaulted him around Darrell Gwynn into the 2nd position in Top Fuel points. Joe Amato started to see his lead being eroded. In Funny Car, the big story, John Force. His first win moved him from 5th to 3rd, and Butch Leal could breathe a little easier with a 1,000-point lead over Glidden.
The state of New Jersey was the next location for the National Event Trail, as Englishtown hosted the Budweiser Summer National. In qualifying, Dick LaHaye had established a new national record at 5.17 seconds. That level of performance continued through the first 2 rounds of competition and brought LaHaye into a head-to-head confrontation with Joe Amato in the semifinals. LaHaye was looking for his 4th consecutive Top Fuel title, which would have established a new record. But dire smoke off the starting line took LaHaye out of contention, and Amato moved on to the Summer Nationals finals. Records were also established by Funny Car driver Mike Dunn. In qualifying, he had run 270 miles an hour, and with this run of over 268, Mike Dunn reset the official national record. That win over Tom McEwen moved Dunn into the semifinals, where he raced Kenny Bernstein. Dunn smoked the tires, and Bernstein crossed the finish line first and advanced into the finals. Pro Stock Eliminator saw a first-time finalist, Jerry Ekman from Ventura, California, race against the veteran Bruce Allen. This was the 3rd final round appearance this season for Allen. His last win came at the 1985 Grand National. Ekman pulled ahead at the start and maintained the lead through the finish line to take his first ever national event victory.
I was so thrilled to win. It's just such a thrill. It's, like I said, it's those once-in-a-lifetime thrills that come your way, and I was so happy for myself, for Bill Orndorff and the crew, Ron Swift, that we were able to pull this off, and our new sponsor, John Baldy, and we're just thrilled to death.
The finals of Funny Car Eliminator found a continuation of the rivalry between Kenny Bernstein and Mark Oswald. Oswald, driving the Motorcraft Thunderbird of Candies and Hughes, was a three-time winner last season. And Oswald pulled the parachute early. Bernstein was the winner for the fourth time this year. Oswald, in his first final round this season, had a very slight advantage over Bernstein at mid-course. By the time they approached the finish line, Oswald had built a lead of a few feet. Then, as they approached the speed trap, Oswald miscalculated, pulled the parachute early, and Bernstein, by inches, won the race. In an incredible display of season-long performance, Joe Amato made his sixth final round appearance at the Summer Nationals. He raced against Gary Ormsby, and Amato went into a giant wheel stand. When the car came back to the racing surface, severely damaged was the front end. The engine also had problems, and Ormsby streaked on for the win. Amato's giant wheel stand started just a few hundred feet off the starting line. And then it slammed back to the pavement and the engine let go. An incredible set of circumstances for Amato. 6 times he's been to the final, and yet only once has he won.
Well, Joe's back didn't hurt quite as much when he saw that he was still leading the top fuel point. He and LaHaye starting to pull away from the competition. John Forrest, he moved into the number 2 spot behind Bernstein, and Butch Leal going out in round number 1 to Glidden, while Glidden served notice he was planning a mid-season charge.
From the near sea level conditions in New Jersey, the NHRA National Event Trail next moved to the rarefied atmosphere of Denver, Colorado, and the Mile High National. In one of the most important races of the day, Dick LaHaye was matched against Frank Bradley. Bradley, at the wheel of the Newman Farm Special, was considered the underdog. But as LaHaye smoked the tires, Bradley moved ahead by a few inches, and that was the margin of victory. That win in the semifinals brought the upset-minded Frank Bradley into the final round against Joe Amato. Surprise, surprise, for the 7th time this season, Amato was in the final. Frank Bradley's victory scheme started in 1976. His last win came at the 1984 Summer National. Amato built up a lead off the starting line that was not challenged by Bradley, and Joe Amato won his second Top Fuel title of 1987. The Pro Stock Finals at the Mile High Nationals found Bob Glidden against Bruce Allen in the classic Ford versus Chevy battle. Glidden earlier had defeated Butch Leal in the semifinals. Glidden won the race and began a strong move towards another World Championship title. Kenny Bernstein against John Forrest. That was the finals in Funny Car Eliminator. While Bernstein smoked the tires slightly, he was able to recover and pulled ahead of John Forrest to take home the Mile High Championship.
The Winston point standings in Top Fuel and Funny Car remain pretty much status quo. The big story in Pro Stock. With Glidden taking out Leal in the semis, he moved within 100 points of the lead. You'll recall in '86, this was the race where Glidden mounted his charge.
From Denver, Colorado to the land of 10,000 lakes, Brainerd, Minnesota was host to the next national event. This, the Quaker State North Star National. The long-awaited debut of Don Garlett's brand new car took place at this event, and Swamp Rat 31 went down to defeat at the hands of Darrell Gwynn in the first round of competition. Also in round number 1, the man that was leading the Winston points chase by nearly 1,000 points, Joe Amato, received an upset loss at the hands of Gene Snow. In Pro Stock Eliminator, the winner of this race would be in control of the Winston points chase. Bob Glidden defeated Butch Leal to take over the lead in Pro Stock Eliminator. In the final round, Bob Glidden and his Ford raced against the Chevrolet Beretta of Bruce Allen. The Rare and Morrison car was making its second consecutive final round appearance, having lost to Glidden at the recent Mile High Nationals. The improved aerodynamics of the Beretta body over the previous Chevrolet Camaro have obviously paid dividends for the Rare and Morrison team. Allen had the advantage off the starting line, and in a reversal of what occurred 1 year ago at the North Star Nationals, Allen defeated Glidden.
What a victory for you. What a leave off the starting line.
I can't tell how happy I am for Chevrolet, Levi Garrett, Buddy and Dave. All the guys at the shop, we've been working hard. I mean, this is great. I'm the happiest guy you've ever seen.
Just like Pro Stock Eliminator, the Funny Car Finals at the North Star Nationals was a rematch of the Mile High race. Kenny Bernstein was in the far lane against John Forbes. Kenny had built up a commanding lead in the Winston Championship Series to this point and was making his third consecutive final round appearance. In fact, he had won the previous 2 events. Bernstein's dominance continued at Brainerd, Minnesota, as he put away John Forbes with an elapsed time of 5.60 seconds. The finals in Top Fuel at the North Star Nationals matched Darrell Gwynn against Dan Pastorini. In his march to the finals, the former NFL football star turned professional drag racer was matched against Dick LaHaye in the semifinals. LaHaye was considered the favorite as he was now improving on his point standings in the Winston Championship Series. But Pastorini proved to be the upset maker in this case. A lot of tire smoke, loss of traction for LaHaye, and Pastorini moved into the finals. But mechanical problems put him out of competition, and that gave the win to Darrell Gwynn. The victory for Darrell provided a dramatic improvement in his standings in the Winston Series, as that made a three-way race of it between Darrell Gwynn, Joe Amato, and Dick LaHaye. For Dan Pastorini, his second national event win still eluded him.
Joe Amato's upset in round number 1 allowed Dick LaHaye to continue to gain ground on the Top Fuel leader. In Pro Stock, Bob Glidden not only defeated Butch Leal in round number 1, but drove around him in the points column to boot. The first time we'd had a new name at the top since the Winter Nationals.
Next on the agenda was the biggest drag race of them all, the U.S. Nationals at Indianapolis, Indiana. The 3-time Top Fuel champion, Don Garlitz, was not in competition at this race as the result of a horrendous crash suffered at Spokane, Washington. The car went into a 200-mile-an-hour wheel stand at the finish line and overturned. The injuries sustained by Don, though not serious, were enough to keep him out of competition for the remainder of the year. The record book was shattered in Pro Stock qualifying. Bob Glidden and his Ford Thunderbird ran a speed of over 191 miles an hour.
I think in our case, the aero people, the engineers at Ford Motor Company have given us a lot of help in that area, and our car is really stable at 190.
Mike Dunn rewrote the record book once again. In qualifying, he ran over 278 miles an hour, getting very close to that magic 280 mark. In the first round of competition, Dunn ran 274 and set that as the record.
Well, this car's been running fast all year. When Kenny went 274, we felt we could run 275, 276 if we get her hooked up off the starting line. And 278, that's a little mind-boggling, but, hey, we'll take it.
While Dunn was close, Amato was there, the first driver ever over 280 miles an hour.
I've got breathless. You know me, I never run out of air. Tim Richards put a combination. We made a good run this morning, and he felt confident that the car. So he told me we were going to go for ludicrous speed. That was the word we were talking about for the last hour over my pit, ludicrous speed.
He was kidding?
No, he's been serious. He was serious. He said it's either going to work real good or real bad. He said it was the most changes ever made in the motor for one step. But he said, no, we got to try it. And all everybody's been talking about all week here is 280, 280. And Indy seems a place to run 280, and they run 280 here at 525 and end up low ET. It doesn't get any better than that, Steve.
In addition to the U.S. Nationals, Indianapolis Raceway Park also hosted the Mr. Gasket Pro Stock Challenge. The defending champ, Bruce Allen, was driving the Chevy Beretta. Bob Glidden in the Ford Thunderbird trying for his first ever Pro Stock Challenge win. By a couple of car lengths, Bob Glidden was the Pro Stock Challenge champion. The 8 best funny cars in the world met in the Big Fudge Shootout. In the finals, Mark Oswald was against John Force. Oswald lost traction. Force won $50,000.
My sponsors, my crew, my wife, Austin Coyle, baddest person I know, and all them people up there. I love all of you.
And they love you.
Got no words here, man.
I understand. John Force has been waiting so long for this. An earlier national event win in Montreal, Canada was not televised. Many of his fans were unable to see it, and here is the crew for John Force. The biggest payday in this man's professional drag racing career.
The finals in Pro Stock Eliminator saw Bob Glidden trying to win his 3rd consecutive U.S. Nationals title and his 8th overall Nationals win. That string started way back in 1975. Racing against him was the Chevrolet Camaro driver out of the Wayne County Speed Shop, Darrell Alderman. Alderman made a race of it, but Glidden was not to be denied, and Bob Glidden won the U.S. National.
Bob Glidden, that's 8 U.S. Nationals titles.
That's right, Steve. The Thunderbird was thundering today for sure. I'll tell you. I know how I feel. Ed and the kids have got to feel great right now. Darrell did give us a good race until neck to neck till half track. Tim, I'm telling you.
This was a little tougher race for you than it might have looked like from the grandstand.
Well, yes. The prior round we had wheel hop really bad, got crossed up, nearly hit Butch. We had no idea what was going to happen. We kind of threw the dice. We told Darrell we were going to take the right lane, and then, well, we decided we'd take the left lane, so I guess the boys made the right decision again.
Terrific job. Congratulations.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
The dominant force in funny car racing, Kenny Bernstein, was matched against the fastest funny car in the world, that of Joe Pisano, driven by the defending U.S. Nationals champion, Mike Dunn. Coming into this final round, Bernstein had only won this race once before, that back in 1983. There was concern within Bernstein's crew because of an engine change that took place after the semifinals. Dunn smoked the tires, and Bernstein streaked on for the win.
Can you believe you're even here?
No, it's hard. And you said it, the crew, Dale Armstrong, Mike Wood,
Jim Mayo, Charlie Nielsen, and Daryl Gwynn's crew, and all our friends.
Tom McEwen was in there.
My Goose, the Coors Goose come in there and helped everybody. We couldn't do it without them, I tell you. And Budweiser, Quaker State, and Buick.
And a 553. I mean, they just came right back with a bare short block motor.
Well, they did. Dale does it that way. That's the way he has them prepared because he changes the combination so much. But you never worry if you don't run out of time. But they put on the kangaroo shoes and ran hard on that one, Steve.
Indeed. Kenny Bernstein, U.S. Nationals champion again.
It's a great one, I tell you. There's nothing better than the U.S. Nationals. Nothing.
The leaders in the World Championship points chase met in the final round of Top Fuel Eliminator. Dick LaHaye raced Joe Amato. Amato attempting to back up his 280-mile-an-hour run. An added dimension to the story was that neither driver had ever won this race before.
What would it mean to Joe Amato to win his first ever U.S. Nationals in Top Fuel?
Well, Steve, to win the Nationals, the big one of all time, and hopefully set the speed record and back it up in the final, that'll be a storybook ending and a dream come true. I don't know if I could take it.
It's probably the most important race of my whole career. You know, this is the grandfather of all drag racing, and it's the biggest drag race of the year. And to win this would just be astounding. I mean, I would probably be lost for words, to be truthful with you. We'll have to wait and see what happens at the other end.
There was a tremendous amount of importance riding on this single race at the U.S. Nationals. First, there was the bonus points by virtue of the size and prestige of the Nationals. Bonus points in the Winston Championship chase are awarded to the winner. There was the possibility that Joe Amato could pick up the bonus points that are paid by virtue of establishing a new national record. For Dick LaHaye, a win would move him even closer to the points leader, Amato. Amato got the lead off the starting line. It was a close race at the finish, but Joe Amato won his first ever U.S. Nationals title.
Steve told me it was going to... That's Steve. So be okay, Steve.
That's okay.
I'm not excited enough to... God, the U.S. Nationals. Tim told me it was going to be real tight, he said, but you're going to have to weld into the tree. You know, we've been driving real good all day, and I've been just concentrating a real lot on the tree. And I've been getting real good lights, and, you know, I've gotten my eyes picked out the last race, so I came here with the idea that I knew I was going to have to do real good, and thank God they gave me enough power to do it.
Amato's performance in the final round was not enough to back up the 283-mile-per-hour record for bonus points, but his win over LaHaye moved him further into the Top Fuel points lead. Kenny Bernstein, Bob Glidden both also padded their margins.
Reading, Pennsylvania was the next stop after Indianapolis and the Castrol GTX Keystone Nationals. Rain forced a one-week delay in eliminations, and as a result, created a tune and test day for the racers. Kenny Bernstein took advantage of it, and that proved disastrous. Bernstein's car, out of control, on fire, ran off the racetrack and ended up upside down in a swampy area at the end of Maple Grove Raceway. Bernstein's car suffered mechanical problems partway through the run. That in turn led to the engine explosion, which engulfed the entire car and the cockpit in flames. The engine continued to pump fuel through the broken fuel lines that fed the flames, and Bernstein sat at the core of a 200-mile-an-hour fireball. Bernstein, extricated from the wreckage by the NHRA safety safari crew, was uninjured in the accident. The car did not fare quite so well, but after an all-night session, the crew was able to rebuild the chassis, put on a spare body, and Kenny Bernstein returned to competition, where Kenny's luck took a change for the better. In the first round, Bernstein received a bye run that allowed him to check out the rebuilt race car. In the semifinals, it was Bernstein against Mark Oswald, the defending champion. Oswald had been the performance leader, and that proved to be true in the semifinals when he put away Kenny Bernstein with a 5.52-second elapsed time. In the first round of Top Fuel Eliminator, the crowd favorite Joe Amato from Old Forge, Pennsylvania, set both ends of the national record. He had an elapsed time of 5.11 at a speed of 280.37. In the second round, Amato not only backed up the 280, but actually improved on it to 280.98 miles an hour to take the national record. In the semifinals against Gary Ormsby, Amato was looking to back up the elapsed time record of 5:11. At this point in the season, Amato is looking for points from any source as he is locked in a struggle with Dick LaHaye and Darrell Gwynn. And Amato left too soon. No national ET record on this run. First-time finalist Tony Christian brought the Volante and Earl Pontiac Firebird to the starting line to race against Bob Glidden in the Pro Stock Final. Glidden was seeking his 57th national event title at this race. While Christian had a good start, he did not have the power necessary to compete against Glidden, and Bob moved even closer to a world championship title. John Force took a unique means of wishing a happy anniversary to his wife, Lori, as he lined up in the finals against Mark Oswald. This a rematch of the recent Big Bud shootout at Indianapolis. Oswald was still looking for his first national event win of the 1987 season. He had been the dominant car at this event. Oswald had defeated not only Kenny Bernstein, but Don Prudhomme and Billy Meyer to reach the finals to race against John Force. And Force instantly smoked the tires. That put him out of competition. And Mark Oswald, with a 5.49-second elapsed time, took home his first win of the year.
I mean, we've struggled this year, Steve. Every little thing that could go wrong did. I'm just happy for Motorcraft and Ford and Paul and Leonard and everybody on the crew worked so hard, you know. Feel sorry for John. They have to have another runner-up, but I didn't want to give it to him.
The finals of Top Fuel Eliminator at the Keystone Nationals found Gary Ormsby against Dick LaHaye. Ormsby received a tremendous break in the semifinals when the record-shattering Joe Amato went down to defeat by his own hand. He left the starting line too soon, and the red light put him out of competition and moved Ormsby into the finals. After more than 2 decades in the sport of championship drag racing, Dick LaHaye has enjoyed thus far his best season ever. That was highlighted by his second-round win over Darrell Gwynn. LaHaye recorded a brilliant 5.12 elapsed time. Oh, so close to a new national record. His speed on that run was over 279 miles an hour. That also very close to the new speed record established by Joe Amato. For LaHaye in this final round, he had a number of thoughts on his mind. Most important was winning the race. But second, in order to keep pace with the bonus points by virtue of the speed record going to Amato, LaHaye wanted to back up that ET record. And back it up he did. A 5:14, the record and the win.
You've won it for the second year in a row. You got the ET record at a 5:14.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Steve. I can't thank the Lord enough. I mean, there's been so many prayers going on over there in that camp today that it's unreal, because we've been kind of lost coming into these races because we kept smoking the tires and so forth, and we finally got it figured out, I guess. And I'm just thrilled to know, and I'll bet Kim is just ecstatic right now.
Well, with LaHaye and Amato each setting a national record, the bonus points were neutralized. But with the win, LaHaye gained some ground. Mark Oswald's first win of the year put him in the third spot behind John Force and, of course, Kenny Bernstein. Bob Glidden, well, he continued to run away with it.
The quest for the World Championship moved back to Dallas, Texas, in the Texas Motorplex for the Chief Nationals. A capacity crowd was jammed into the Motorplex to watch some of the most exciting action that took place all season. Joe Amato in qualifying ran a best ever 5.09 seconds at over 287 miles an hour. Also in qualifying, Gene Snow brought out his brand new car and on its second pass ever stunned the crowd with the quickest ET in history.
I can't hardly believe it. I mean, it's the only second run of this brand new car. My crew, Gene Gaddy, that built the car. I can't believe it. It's wonderful. Yay!
While Gene Snow was celebrating, Eddie Hill crept up and broke the national speed record. Hill, in qualifying, set the record at over 283 miles an hour. On the funny car front, John Force established a new ET record at 5.39 seconds. But then watch as Ed McCulloch came out, took over the #1 qualifying spot with a 5.36 second charge. Meanwhile, Mike Judd became the first driver ever to run over 280 miles an hour at the wheel of a funny car. Not to be outdone, Bob Glidden took his Ford Thunderbird to a new Pro Stock ET record, that at 7.35 seconds. All of the excitement at the Chief Nationals was not in the record-setting department. Tim Gross provided a few thrills of his own. The billowing black smoke indicated a serious fire for Gross, but the NHRA safety requirements proved their worth once again as Gross came through this massive explosion and fire without injury. Just about the time the capacity crowd thought they had seen everything, the weird stuff began. Gene Snow lost to Michael Brotherton, and Dick LaHaye lost to Glenn Mikers. LaHaye thought his shot at the World Championship was over. But wait, it's only started. Joe Amato shook the parachute out and lost to Jack Ostrander. A golden opportunity gone forever for Joe Amato. Darrell Gwynn did his best to confuse the World Championship points chase. He took the ET record away with a 5.12 elapsed time. With that run, Gwynn improved his shot at the world title. The Gremlin struck in funny car as John Ford went up in smoke, and Jim Head took the win. And a capper to the first round saw Mike Judd lose to Dom Hoover. But wait, there's more. As the Top Fuel semifinal unfolded, Darrell Gwynn raced against Gary Ormsby. Gwynn, with every victory, advancing further up the ladder in the Winston points chase. It was an incredible run for Gwynn and another national record, 5.09 seconds elapsed time. Gwynn at over 281 miles an hour. As Eddie Hill watched the action by Darrell Gwynn, he said to himself, I can improve on that. And he bashed the speed record once again. In a semifinal run against Len Mikers, Hill took the national speed record to a mark of over 285 miles an hour. Pro Stock Eliminator final round found Butch Leal against Bob Glidden once again. But this was the second half of the season, and Leal had fallen on harder time. After a slow start, Bob Glidden had come on strong in the latter half of the year, and after winning the U.S. Nationals, had a commanding lead in the points chase. At the Chief Nationals, Glidden was out first and out-powered Leal and took the win at a 7:37, over 187 miles an hour. Ed McCulloch came into the final round of Funny Car Eliminator seeking the backup to his national record for elapsed time. McCulloch was racing against the Dallas, Texas favorite, Raymond Beal. After winning 2 races last year, McCulloch had yet to taste victory on the national event trail for 1987. The picture of consistency. McCulloch backed up his elapsed time record and won the Chief National.
To pick this one off on the world's best track and set the record, you backed it up at 5:41. You are the quickest of them all.
All right, Steve-O. You wouldn't even give me a clue.
No, not to get that helmet off.
Let me tell you, this is great. I mean, we went through the guys today. This is what drag racing's all about.
Little kiss from Raymond Beal.
Raymond.
I don't know if that's a reward or not.
You know,
two have been best buddies for a long time.
Years and years, we go back a long ways.
You're thrilled.
I'm thrilled to death.
As we have seen so often this season, the quickest